So I'm training for a marathon, and the other day I was doing a long, like 10k run or something. I was thinking to myself, what is the difference between doing a 5k and a 10k? And of course, yeah, 5 kilometers. But I realized that it's mostly mental. The difference between getting yourself to do 30 minutes of running and do 5 kilometers and an hour of running and do 10 kilometers is almost all in your head. You might think, yeah, you've got to be physically fit for it. And yes, you do. But if you can do a 5 kilometer run in 30 minutes, then you can 100% do a 10k. I feel like a lot of people, well, I'm not sure, but I feel like a lot of people think of 10k as quite far and quite a lot, but it's really not that hard. You just have to pick a slow pace and then just stick it out in your head, and then you'll be able to do it. So let me give you the first mental tip. When you want to go on like a long run, I'm just going to use 10k for basically all of my examples here. When you want to go on a long run, and I'm just going to use 10 kilometers as my example here, you probably think of it as like, oh, I've got to do 10k, I've got to be running for an hour, that's so long. And me personally, I live near this long path. I can basically go from one point to another point, and that's about 10k. And sure, that sounds good, and it is good in a lot of ways, but psychologically it kind of does you in, because you're just on the same path and you're just running there on the same path for about an hour, and it's just so long. But what I realized the good technique is to literally just pick out something in front of you and just tell yourself that you need to get there. Whenever you want to do a long run, even though at the back of your mind you do subconsciously know that you have to do a 10-kilometer run, if you tell yourself just get to that place, get to that tree, then it actually just eases off the pain a bit. When you do that and say 100 meters in front of you there's like a sign, you say just get to there, and you get to there and you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad, okay, pick up the next one, get to the next one, again, not that bad. So you keep going until eventually it's you've done the run. By the way, if you want to help out my channel, there's a quick little Google form to fill out in the description. It's just a few questions, it will take you like 2 minutes, and I'd really appreciate it if you did it. But you can't always just use that. So here's the next tip. A lot of the time, even if you're doing something like picking something in front of it and telling yourself you need to get there, it's still quite hard to get over the fact that, it's long and you're in pain and it's just tough. But I found that the best way to get over the mental challenge is to get stuck in your own head. Again, like I said, it's quite easy to think, oh man, it's so long, my legs are hurting and everything. But what I do instead, which might seem a little bit weird, is just talk to myself. I do one of 3 things. I either debate myself on some sort of topic, or I think about something which my mind is sort of ruminating on recently, or I just try and recall things that I've learned recently. So an example of the debate, I had a vegan debate with myself about whether you should or shouldn't be, and I was going back and forth between myself and an imaginary person. And I know it might sound autistic or just weird, but I got stuck in my own head and I was doing it, and I'd have run like 5 kilometers without even realizing. Another example would be trying to recall the words that I learned doing Duolingo. I was trying to think of every single word that I'd learned recently in Italian. And again, I was in my own head trying to think, oh, what was that one? And I was almost kind of having a conversation with myself in it, even though maybe I'm not that good. But again, I got stuck in my own head and I'd run however long, and I was like, oh, that wasn't that bad. And so the benefits of this is that you get to revise things and strengthen your knowledge. Or you can use it as sort of emotional therapy by going over the things that you've been ruminating on or that have been troubling you recently. Or you can again learn more by debating yourself and have topics that you might not often think about. So those are the 2 best tips that I've learned, which is to pick things in front of you, tell yourself you just have to get to them, and then also immerse yourself in your own head and try and just completely distract yourself and get in your own world. But then the final tip is to get a friend. If you get a friend, there's multiple things that you'll get from it. First of all, you'll be more motivated to go. Second of all, it'll be more fun when you actually go. Third of all, you won't be able to stop. You want to go on a run, okay, you got a friend with you. Okay, yeah, let's go, that'll be fun. So you go on the run, and then you can talk to your friend, you get in your own head, you think about the conversation instead of the pain that you're in, and you also have someone to relate to the pain that you're in. And thirdly, once you're running with someone who's on your sort of level, then there's no way either of you can stop. I've done it multiple times with a few different people that I've been on runs with. And when you're running, you stick to a pace. You can't slow down unless you both slow down at the exact same pace. But if one of you is running, the other, they don't have an option to fall back, because it's like, you're kind of in competition with each other. But honestly, probably one of my best runs that I've had was with one of my friends, who we went on like the usual route, which is like a 10-kilometer run or something. We both had been running like separately before, but we both got together, did it, and we sort of picked a high pace, and we just kept going at that pace, even though we never would have by ourselves. We kept running, and we got back and we did it in like 5 minutes faster than we would have before. And it's because we both pushed ourselves and we were both there to hold each other accountable, which you don't get if you're by yourself. But at the same time, I do often prefer runs by myself because, again, I kind of like talking to myself. So maybe it's up to you. It's really a personal thing. You can do it a lot or you can do it rarely, or just honestly just however you want. So I hope these tips will help you go from doing however long you're running for, or even not running at all, to doing a long run. Pick a slow pace, use these tips, and I promise you it'll be so much easier to get yourself to do a long run. So I hope you enjoy this video. See you in the next one.